Exposed, my granddaughter's old hag insult sparked an amazing transformation in just 3 days. Evelyn Johnston, once the vibrant heart of Maplewood, now danced through her days like a shadow, muted and invisible. Her garden, once a canvas splashed with reds and yellows, fragrant blooms, and laughter, had become an overgrown jungle reflecting her inner desolation. At 68, Evelyn felt like an old hag herself as whispers of age crept into her bones, and loneliness painted her walls gray. It was during a family gathering, amid the smell of grilled burgers and sweet corn, that a lively comment from her teenage granddaughter, Lily, cut deeper than any thorn from her beloved roses. "You're such an old hag, Grandma." Lily laughed, unaware of the sting her words carried. Evelyn's heart sank. The laughter echoed in her ears, but instead of withering away, something ignited within her, an ember of determination sparked by youthful ignorance. With daring resolve, Evelyn stood tall in that very moment. She was done with feeling like a ghost in her own life. She decided that in 3 days, she'd bring her garden back to life. With each sunrise, she would reclaim her vibrancy. As day one dawned, she donned her gardening gloves and trudged into the yard, ready to confront the weeds that choked her cherished blooms. The physical labor wore her body out. Each pull of a stubborn dandelion sent shocks of pain shooting through her back, but with each weed unearthed, an inkling of vitality began to bloom inside her spirit. The tulips whispered promises of color, the soil crumbled beneath her fingers, and soon the familiar heat of the sun melted away her pain, if only for moments. But as twilight descended, the cruel murmurs of her neighbors began to prick at her heart. "Look at that crazy old lady," they'd say with laughter trailing off behind them. The whispers echoed in her mind like raindrops against a window, blurring her resolve. Yet, it was not long before she crossed paths with Mr. Thompson, a retired war veteran, his eyes mirroring her struggle. "Keep planting," he told her one evening, his voice gravelly yet warm. "The world needs people who refuse to fade away." With his encouragement, she felt the weight of every doubt lift a little more with each passing day. It wasn't just flowers that she was sowing, she was nurturing a flicker of hope, the essence of dreams laid dormant for too long. Meanwhile, Lily watched her grandmother transform, her initial laughter replaced by curiosity. The respect for the woman who once defined a community began to dawn upon her. Labors of love were never outdated, they were what made one's legacy bloom. Now, on the eve of her garden's grand unveiling, a storm brewed, both in the skies and within Evelyn. Doubts surged like dark clouds as she wondered if this chaotic transformation would even be acknowledged. Would her neighbors see her determination? Would Lily understand? Wind whipped through the branches, thrumming with uncertainty. But Evelyn stood firm, prepared to reveal her heart both in flower and spirit. Just as the clouds started to release their heavy load, she took a breath, ready to step forward. But a familiar voice broke through the murmurs of the crowd. "Why bother? It's just a garden." The words sliced through the air, leaving Evelyn trembling. Could love and resilience truly weather the storm of judgment? Was she destined to be seen as the old hag still, despite her efforts to bloom anew? Those questions hung thick in the air, and as she brushed against the pane, a new resolve stirred. Would she finally be recognized for the vibrant woman she aspired to be? Evelyn took a moment to gather herself, the challenge ahead looming larger than the storm clouds gathering in the sky. With the biting taunts still echoing in her mind, she saw each face in the crowd twisted by judgment. For a brief second, doubt clouded her ambition. Was all this effort only destined to be brushed aside? The very idea clenched her heart tightly. But as raindrops began to fall, each one felt like a message washing over her. They weren't just drops of water, they were the tears of her past, the pain of her isolation, blending together with the soil she had worked so tirelessly to enrich. Realization washed over her. This garden was not merely about plants, it symbolized her very existence. It wasn't just about blooming but about standing strong against the elements. Evelyn lifted her chin. She had nurtured these plants, tenderly grooming each leaf and petal. The very act of caring had become a rebirth for her spirit. She wasn't a hag, she was a gardener, a creator of beauty in a world that often saw only the surface. The whispers couldn't snuff out the flicker of pride igniting within her. As the rain began to pour, she marched forward, her heart beating fiercely against her chest. With determination, she wiped the moisture from her brow and faced the sea of neighborly faces, each gaze landing heavy on her shoulders. "You might think it's just a garden," she called out, her voice rising above the downpour. "But it's proof that beauty can survive in the most unlikely places." The crowd fell silent, the surprise flickering across their faces igniting hope in Evelyn. Here she stood, old but not defeated, ready to show them that her heart was still vibrant, still alive. The winds howled, and raindrops lashed against her garden like an angry chorus, but she wouldn't be swayed. She wanted to believe that, just maybe, they were listening. Then, stepping in front of the brightly colored blooms that had begun to dominate her yard, she gestured with wide arms as if she were unveiling a masterpiece. "Look closer. Life still bursts forth from the soil. These flowers represent every moment I've fought to be seen, every force I've battled to begin again." Lily, standing at the edge of the crowd, felt something shift within her. The laughter that had once spilled so easily transformed into a serious contemplation. Did she truly understand her grandmother's journey? Wasn't it just an innocent jab, a simple joke? But as she watched the woman in front of her stand boldly against the elements, she realized there was so much more to Evelyn than she had ever known. Suddenly, a streak of lightning illuminated the sky, casting a flash of light upon Evelyn's colorful blooms. It was a stunning sight, and for a moment, the crowd seemed entranced, captivated by her bravery. Evelyn drew in a deep breath, feeling the weight of every smile yet to come strengthen her resolve. But among the awe, a voice cut through a scoff from the back. "What's the point, Evelyn? It'll be a mess come winter." Her breath hitched as she confronted yet another step in her journey. The cocoon of vulnerability felt suffocating. What if the gardens would wilt? What if her colors faded? There was a sudden wave of fear crashing into her armor. But Evelyn wasn't done fighting. "The point is every season holds beauty," she responded, softer but fierce. "Every storm brings nourishment for the roots. I may be judged, but I will bloom again." The words surged through her, rising in a fervor that would not be contained. With the storm finally set free, she stepped back, tired but undeterred, her heart open and raw. Would this moment secure her path, or would she find herself lost in the storm ahead? Every eye focused on her now. Confidence wrapped around her despite the uncertainty. And as the rain drummed a rhythm against the earth, Evelyn knew the next chapter was just beginning. But would they see the vibrant heart she was fighting to share? Would she embrace the storms and find out just how deep her roots had grown? The rain fell heavier, drenching Evelyn but igniting an inner fire that burned brightly. She stood there, a solitary figure against the backdrop of the storm, with droplets cascading off her chin like the tears she had held back for too long. The wind whipped around her, but she felt steadier than ever. The crowd's silence was a breath of shared suspense, a collective inhale as they shifted in their spots, awaiting her next words. "Look around," she exclaimed, urgency threading through her voice. "Look at these colors. These fragile petals are strong. Just like me." She faltered only for a second, a brief moment when the weight of doubt pressed down. Yet, that moment passed, replaced by a surge of clarity. Each flower represented a battle fought, a hardship endured. Each one a testament to survival. Lily stepped closer, her heart racing. She could see the vulnerability in her grandmother's eyes, but also an undeniable strength. It was as if each flower had whispered its secrets to Evelyn, sharing stories of perseverance and beauty. Lily had never seen her grandmother like this, so fierce, so alive. Those years spent in the shadows melted away, replaced by admiration creeping in like sunlight through the clouds. The scoff echoed again, but this time less menacing. "But it won't last." The voice insisted, a blend of doubt and concern. "What will happen when the frost comes?" Evelyn turned, narrowing her eyes into the rain that blurred her vision. "The frost, my friend, is only a moment. It does not erase what has come before. Every winter will bring spring, and with it, a chance to start anew." Her words hung in the air, a challenge dressed in defiance. She felt alive, her resolve fortified by the very elements that tried to belittle her. In that charged moment, she noticed a shift in the crowd. The skeptical faces were softening, brows unwrinkling. As the storm danced around them, something began to unravel in their tightly held judgments. Evelyn felt it, an unseen thread connecting her to them, binding them in a shared awareness of their humanity. Then, a woman from the back called out, "But you're old, Evelyn. Isn't it too late to begin again?" It stung, but this time it fueled her rather than diverting her focus. Too late? She almost laughed, the sound mingling with the thunder. I've spent too long listening to that lie. When did living become a checklist of age? When did planting a seed become a race against time? I refuse to be defined by years alone. The crowd stirred, murmurs rippling through the spectators. Lily noticed eyes darting toward her, an unspoken question in the air. Did she believe her grandmother? Her heart raced. Could she embrace this new side of Evelyn? She felt a warmth spreading inside her, a flicker of belief igniting. Evelyn tilted her head back, embracing the downpour. I am not done. I will bloom all my life. Her voice soared, echoing through the storm as if it could challenge even the fiercest gale. But just as the crowd's hesitations began to crack, another voice rang out, a familiar tone she both loved and feared. Evelyn, you look like a soaking wet petunia. You can't seriously think this is going anywhere meaningful, do you? The mocking laughter that followed was an unwelcome storm, an unexpected tempest crashing into her moment. Evelyn's heart sank for a split second, a wash of confusion clouding her spirit. But it quickly morphed into determination. She turned, locking eyes with Lily, seeking support. Would her granddaughter stand beside her now? Could she bridge the gap that had once seemed insurmountable? Evelyn demanded strength from her roots, ready for whatever came next. Every flower has its season, she said, swallowing hard. But I won't let the frost stop me. Will you? All eyes turned to Lily, their collective breath held tight in anticipation. Would she choose to join her grandmother in this extraordinary journey? Would she defend her legacy? Evelyn held her breath, the moment stretching like eternity. She could see the conflict warring in Lily's eyes. Would her granddaughter take a step into the uncertain with her, or would she remain rooted in the familiarity of silence? The rain continued to pour, but all Evelyn could feel was the weight of those questioning gazes wrapping around her like a blanket. Come on, Lily. It's time to bloom. Even as she spoke, doubts flickered in her mind. What if Lily rejected her? What if the bond they had struggled to mend shattered again at this critical moment? But then, slowly, she saw it. Lily's shoulders relaxed, the tension ebbing away as she stepped forward with purpose. I believe you, Grandma, Lily said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. The warmth shattered the chill of doubt that had nearly engulfed them. It was a simple statement, yet it felt monumental. I believe in you, Lily continued, her eyes shining not just with admiration but with a fierce solidarity. And I refuse to let anyone define you or me, for that matter. The thunder rumbled like a distant applause, and murmurs of approval spread through the crowd. Evelyn's heart fluttered with a mix of relief and joy. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment that felt like a new beginning. She reached out, taking Lily's hand in hers. The connection was instantaneous, a pulse of warmth and resolve that echoed through their clasped fingers. I want us to grow together, Evelyn said, her voice rising again, emboldened by her granddaughter's courage. Let us not allow the frost to bury us. Let us plant ourselves deeper, even when the world tries to freeze our hearts. Let us grow wild. With those words, the storm seemed to soften, the fierce winds calming to a gentle breeze. The crowd shifted yet again, eyes brightening, as the energy in the air transformed. Then, another voice broke through again, this time more constructive and filled with curiosity. But how do you plan to do that? A man asked, his voice tempered with both inquiry and hope. What does growing wild really mean? Evelyn grinned, feeling the wave of her words still resonating in the hearts around her. It means being messy. The laughter she ignited was infectious. It means embracing the imperfections, the flaws, recognizing that they make us uniquely beautiful. The crowd smiled back, surprise lifting the weight off their shoulders. They weren't just spectators anymore. They were participants, drawn into a moment of shared humanity. "I will teach you," Evelyn added, her heart swelled with determination, "how we can bloom amidst the storms we face, together. We will create a garden, not just of flowers but of stories, experiences, and hope. Will you join us?" And just like that, Lily could feel the magic. A ripple of excitement and anticipation flowed through the crowd as hands began to raise, voices chiming in agreement. Yes. It came back, as if it had been rehearsed. The once cynical spectators were now allies, ready to grow alongside Evelyn and Lily. As they all came together, Evelyn felt lighter, freer, as if the weight of those years spent doubting herself was finally lifting. But deep within her, another question arose. Would they be able to sustain this newfound alliance? Would the petals continue to hold firm against the frost, or would old doubts creep in and threaten the beauty they were beginning to cultivate? With a deep breath, she knew they were on the edge of something profound, yet the storm still hung in the sky above them, an ever-present reminder of the challenges ahead. "Let us embrace the storm," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "But, together, we must remember what's the first flower we're planting." And as laughter filled the air again, Evelyn felt the electricity of possibility swirling, ready to take root. What would their journey look like as they stepped into the garden of transformation? The energy buzzed around them like bees in spring, each person vibrating with newfound hope. Evelyn could feel the warmth radiating from the crowd, feeding her spirit. She watched Lily, who looked alive with purpose, her eyes reflecting the laughter and excitement of those around them. It was all they needed: community, connection, and the courage to face whatever storms may come. "Let us start with the sunflower," Evelyn shouted, her voice cutting through the lingering sounds of rain. "It stands tall, it follows the sun, and it symbolizes loyalty and devotion." A cheer erupted from the crowd. A woman stepped forward, clutching small pots of soil in her hands. "I brought some. Let us plant them right here." The enthusiasm was infectious. Evelyn and Lily exchanged a glance, their smile telling an unspoken story of triumph and renewal. The crowd began to gather materials, dirt and seeds passed from hand to hand like bits of an uncharted treasure. Each person focused on a task, and for a moment, the world beyond the makeshift garden faded away. Evelyn knelt down beside a group, her fingers feeling the cool earth while she guided them through creating their first patch, fingers working in tandem. "Let us make sure these roots are deep," she encouraged, looking at each face around her, meeting their gaze. "Strong roots create a strong flower, just like us." She saw Lily move, teaching a small boy how to place the seeds with care. A sense of pride swelled within her, yet deep down, lingering shadows of doubt clung like old cobwebs. Could they really maintain this momentum? Would fear pull them back into silence? "Grandma?" Lily's voice broke through, soft yet powerful, pulling her back to the moment. "Look!" she exclaimed. The crowd was leaning in, planting, laughing, and sharing stories, all guided by Evelyn's vision. Each seed was a promise, each smile a commitment to boundaries pushed and fears faced. Moments later, the sun peeked through the clouds, shining a brighter light over them. Laughter washed over the gathering as they stepped back to admire their work. A newly formed patch of soil, speckled with wildflower seeds and sunflowers, an emblem of their shared decision to thrive together. Amidst the laughter, a man from the back raised his hand. "What about thorny plants? Shouldn't we plant some of those too?" His question hung in the air, challenging the lightness of the moment. "Ah, thorns," Evelyn mused, feeling the weight of the inquiry. Thorns remind us that beauty often comes with challenges. They serve as our resilience, our courage to keep blooming despite what's around us. Nods broke out in the crowd, and she smiled, they were grasping it. But inside, the knots of doubt tightened again. Would they truly embrace the thorns and the storms that accompanied their desires to bloom? Just as she felt the wind pick up slightly, the joyful buzz turned sharp with whispered concerns. Some began to talk about the obstacles they had faced. What if the weather changes? What if we fail? The vulnerable questions unfurled like petals opening to the sun, exposing the fears they had hidden away for too long. Evelyn took a deep breath as all eyes turned to her. It was a pivotal moment, a chance to dive deeper into truth and honesty. Yes, we might face challenges. But together, we can support one another through the difficulties, and celebrate every small success along the way. A ripple of understanding passed through the gathering, a silent agreement to look beyond the fear. Yet, another thought crept in Evelyn's mind. Would they truly be able to confront those challenges together? As lightness swirled into a sobering truth, she recognized the journey ahead was just beginning. Let us make a pact, she suggested, her voice firm. Starting right now, we commit to each other and to this garden. What do you say? The crowd surged with energy, but just as they were about to respond, a loud clap of thunder echoed in the distance, grounding them with a warning. Who's ready to face the storm? Evelyn called out, but the churning skies darkened once more, casting shadows over their new creation. Would their alliance stand up to the looming tempest? Every hopeful seed planted whispered unanswered questions into the air. What challenges lay ahead that could threaten their fragile bloom? The storm rolled over them, heavy clouds rumbling like a warning siren, yet Evelyn couldn't help but feel the unity prevailing in the crowd. Each face around her expressed a mixture of determination and uncertainty. It was as if the storm itself dared them to falter, but Evelyn's heart beat strong with the rhythm of an emerging hope. Gather close, she called out. Let us not be afraid. Let us stand together. As the wind tugged at their clothes, a few people hesitated, unsure of what the next moment would bring. But Lily's small hand found Evelyn's. Their fingers intertwined, a silent vow of support, and all at once, the fear began to melt away, replaced by a collective spark of bravery. Let us sing. A voice rang out from the crowd, breaking the tension. It was a young woman, her eyes filled with infectious enthusiasm. If we sing, we'll scare the storm away. Murmurs of agreement echoed through the gathering, and with a gentle nod from Evelyn, they began to sing. It was a simple song, one of hope and resilience, but the power in their voices rang out louder than the thunder overhead. Each note blended into the wind and rain, creating a symphony of strength, an anthem announcing they were here, they would not be moved. As the first raindrops fell, they danced on the ground, mixing with the dirt that soon would cradle the roots of their sunflowers. Evelyn caught Lily's joy bubbling over as she tried to twirl amidst the puddles. Look, Grandma. We're making music with the rain. Evelyn laughed, the sound bright and clear like a flare in the gloomy haze. It wasn't just the rain, it was the essence of life itself, reminding them that growth often requires a bit of messiness, that flowers can bloom even in the roughest conditions. Inspired, she turned to the group. This storm is just part of our growth. It's a chance for us to strengthen those roots. Their song grew louder, more confident, ringing out into the heavens. The energy around them surged like electricity, the very air crackled with anticipation. Then suddenly, in the midst of their singing, Evelyn spotted an older man stepping forward, his face a tapestry of lines etched from weathering his own storms. I've been hiding for too long, he whispered, his voice tremulous yet freeing. I need to dare myself to bloom. The crowd turned to him, and he felt the collective support coursing through them. I've been afraid of failing, but I want to learn how to grow. Then let us do it together. Lily shouted, grinning widely. Plant those dreams. With renewed exuberance, the group erupted into encouragement, each voice lifting the man higher. Evelyn felt her heart swell. This wasn't just about flowers anymore. They were planting the seeds of personal growth, of dreams waiting to blossom. As his eyes sparkled with unshed tears, the dark clouds began to part slightly, revealing patches of sunlight peeking through, a symbol of hope and possibility. Yet, in the horizon, shadows lurked, thick and menacing. Doubts were still present. What if this isn't enough? Someone murmured. The question faded amidst the joyous laughter, but it hung unvoiced for Evelyn. We'll figure it out, she said with more resolve than she felt. We'll brave the weather together, no matter what challenges lie ahead. Their pact was sealed. No matter how fierce the storm, they would remain as one, an unwavering garden. But as the sky faded from blue to ominous gray once more, Evelyn could sense a deeper storm brewing, one that could test the very foundation of their resolve. Together, Evelyn murmured to herself as she watched the community thrive amid adversity. We stand united. But just as certainty washed over her heart, a sharp crack of lightning illuminated the sky, and a voice broke through the cheers. Evelyn! Look out! What was coming next could change everything. Would their moment of triumph withstand this unexpected surge? Evelyn barely had time to react to the warning when the sky fractured with a deafening roar. The world around her transformed into a tempest, rain battering against their skin as winds threatened to sweep them off their feet. Panic slashed through the unity they had just built. Hold on to each other. Evelyn shouted, trying to rise above the raging storm. She squeezed Lily's hand tighter, feeling the little girl's small frame tremble beside her. Then came a tremendous crash, a tree somewhere nearby bending under the weight of the wind. The wild energy of the storm surged with a ferocity that made her breath hitch. She cast a glance at the older gentleman, his face frozen in a mask of fear. We can't let this scare us, she called out, though her heart pounded wildly in her chest. But the words floated away, lost to the howling wind. The harmony that had been sparked by their song felt moments away from being extinguished, their collective courage eroding with every gust. Evelyn searched the faces around her, desperate for that same hope-filled spark, but doubt began to cast long shadows over them. Suddenly, she felt a little tug at her sleeve. It was Lily, her wide eyes glistening with urgency. Grandma, what if we can't do it? What if we're overwhelmed? The question hung heavy in the air, weighing down along with the raindrops. Evelyn knelt down, bringing herself face to face with her granddaughter. It's okay to feel scared, she began, brushing a wet streak of hair from Lily's forehead. But remember this, storms pass. And when they do, we can see the beauty that comes after. They locked eyes, and a shared understanding passed between them. It wasn't just about the storm. It was about facing fear and uncertainty head-on, embracing even the messiest of moments just like growth. Together, Lily said softly, her courage resonating through her voice. Together, Evelyn echoed, feeling a warmth grow in her chest. It was a small flame, but it ignited a surge of determination within her. Let us sing again. The wind howled in response, but they could not be silenced. Evelyn threw her head back and began the song again, and this time, everyone joined her, voices soaring against the backdrop of chaos. The storm might rage, but their hearts soared higher. Each note wrestled against the powers that sought to intimidate them, like petals determined to break through hardened soil. A strange power radiated from their voices. It was the force of unity pushing back against the storm, a testament to their resilience. As the song intensified, Evelyn noticed the older man's expression change. The fear began to ebb away, replaced by something stronger: defiance. He stepped forward, joining in the chorus, his voice harmonizing beautifully with the rest. In that moment, they were not just an audience to the storm, they were part of something greater. It was exhilarating. The shroud of doubt that had been hovering over them began to thin out, like the clouds retreating before the sun. But just as hope began to blossom, another lightning bolt cracked the sky with a blinding flash, illuminating the treetops with an eerie glow. We have to take cover. Someone shouted in panic, and the crowd began to scatter. No. Stay together. Evelyn yelled, her voice barely carrying above the chaos. She grabbed Lily by the hand, pulling her close, feeling the small trembling form beside her. We can't let fear win. But even as she spoke those words, a part of her wondered, was there something more ominous lurking beneath the surface of their community? A challenge that wasn't just the storm? Evelyn. Came the call from across the crowd, but it was muted. The faces around her blurred in a whirlwind of frantic energy. She felt a ripple of fear again, not just of the storm, something deeper resurging within her. What would happen next? Would their courage hold strong against not just the storm, but doubt still lingering among them? As she looked into Lily's eager eyes, another question fluttered to the forefront. Could they truly weather the storm together, no matter what? The storm raged on, but Evelyn felt a warmth radiating from the grip of her granddaughter's hand. That small touch amplified her confidence, creating a pocket of calm within the chaos. "We need to find a place to huddle," she shouted, scanning the area for safety. Lily's eyes were wide, reflecting both fear and trust. "What about the old barn?" "It's nearby," she suggested, her voice breaking slightly from the wind. Evelyn nodded decisively. "Yes, let us go." As the frantic crowd pushed and pulled against the howling wind, Evelyn focused on Lily, her determination pushing through the noise. They squeezed through gaps in the throng, shoulders brushing against strangers, yet within her, a small circle of strength formed. As they approached the barn, a flash of lightning illuminated the structure. It was worn down, but standing strong against the raging tempest. "That'll do just fine," Evelyn called out as they darted toward the door, the wooden frame creaking ominously as they entered. Inside, the space felt larger than life, filled with shadow and memories of a bustling past. The smell of hay mixed with rain-drenched earth brought back moments of her own childhood, a time of worry, but also of laughter and resilience. She felt a pang for those lost times. Would they ever come back? "Everyone, over here!" she shouted, waving her free arm to gather the stragglers. People were pushing through, looking over their shoulders in panic, but Evelyn kept her focus. In this collective moment, she could see their determination mirrored in the eyes of the adults, finding reassurance in shared experiences. As they crowded into the barn, Evelyn stepped up onto a wooden crate, letting the echoes of her voice pierce through the frantic murmurs. "Listen. We're safe here. Together, we'll weather this storm. We can still sing. Let us lift our spirits." Muffled voices began to stir from the crowd, hesitant but curious. Lily looked up at her, a hopeful light dancing in her eyes. The old gentleman, who had joined them, offered a shy smile. It was a small victory, a flicker of what had initially felt lost. They began to sing again, filling the barn with warmth and hope. As the music washed over them, Evelyn watched the tension easing in people's faces. The vulnerability that had once clouded their spirits evaporated like the rain outside. But just when the rhythm reached a beautiful crescendo, a loud crash came from the roof, followed by an ominous silence. Everyone froze, hearts pounding, unsure of the source. Was it lightning or something else? Evelyn's heart raced. She scanned the gathering crowd. "Is everyone all right?" she called out. Each nod of affirmation, each voice murmuring back in response soothed her rapidly pulsing heart. Then from the back, a voice emerged, trembling from anxiety. "What happens if we can't face what comes next?" The uncertainty hung thick in the air again. Evelyn felt the weight of those words, her heart throbbing in sympathy. A silence fell, but then Lily squeezed her hand tight. "We will face it together. Remember, Grandma?" Evelyn smiled down at her togetherness and charged energy. "That's right. We're stronger together." She looked at the faces surrounding her. "Even in the toughest trials, when we feel small, we have each other, just like roots that grow deep to support the trees." Hope flickered in their eyes again, but the crashing sound from above echoed once more, reverberating through the barn. Suddenly, the roof creaked ominously. Evelyn knew this wasn't just about the storm, but something more primal, a test of their unity. As the storm raged on, could they keep their bonds strong, facing what lay ahead, both inside and outside the barn? Evelyn held her breath, contemplating the path before them. What if the real challenge was yet to come, and it wasn't just weathering the storm, but something deeper, something exposing buried fears that could shake their hearts to their core? The wind howled around the barn, a relentless force pressing against its weathered walls. Every creak and groan of the structure felt amplified, as if urging them to face the storm. Evelyn steadied herself as she caught sight of the fear in the eyes of her fellow survivors, each face lit by the flickering light of memories and uncertainty. "Let us keep singing," she called again, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. We can drown out the storm with our voices. Think of it as a shield. A few people joined in quietly, hesitant but willing. The old musician in the corner raised his guitar, strumming chords that echoed throughout the space. Evelyn felt that familiar warmth from Lily's grip, a reminder that courage begets courage. Slowly, the group began to harmonize, the sound embedding itself into the very fabric of the barn. Suddenly, the roof shook violently once more, letting out a thunderous rumble that made everyone jump. Above, the storm continued its furious assault, as rain poured heavily, splashing against the wooden roof. Evelyn's heart raced again, and she sensed the rising panic in the room. "Everyone, listen," she commanded, hoping her urgency would ground them. "We've lived through storms before, haven't we? Many of us have fought battles far worse than this chaos outside." She scanned their faces, finding strength in each nod and murmur. But just then, a young woman spoke from the back, barely audible over the clamor. "What if we're not strong enough?" Fear trembled in her voice, and Evelyn felt that same vulnerability creep back into the air. Evelyn took a deep breath. "Sometimes, we learn our strength when we think we're weak. Remember, storms don't last forever. And neither do our darkest nights. We just need to weather them together." Lily beamed up at her, eyes filled with admiration. "We can do it, right, Grandma?" The trust in her voice washed over Evelyn like a balm. "Absolutely, sweetheart. Just like in every story we've shared, we'll find a way out." The song transformed into a cacophony of voices, some mingling seamlessly, while others broke off timidly, yet the air was filled with fierce hope and reminder of shared humanity. As the barn shook under the harsh weather, a new sound joined the storm, a frantic noise that pulled their focus. A loud crash erupted outside, close enough to shake the ground. The crowd gasped collectively, uncertainty flooding the space again. What now? Evelyn felt that familiar tightness in her chest. "Stay calm," she urged, but her own heart was racing. She moved closer to Lily, wrapping an arm around her shoulders as they faced the door. "Let us see what it is," a brave voice called from the crowd. It was the old gentleman, lifting his lantern high as if to pierce through the darkness. "What if it's dangerous?" someone else asked, shifting nervously. Evelyn felt the tempest outside lead them into deeper uncertainties, and suddenly, she realized her own fears were battling the unity they built. "Listen," she said softly, "we face the unknown together, whatever it brings. We may stumble, but that doesn't mean we fall apart." In that moment, something shifted. With each heartbeat, they understood that true strength wasn't just in facing the storm outside but in embracing one another's fears and stepping forward together. But just as they started to gather their courage, a series of loud knocks echoed on the barn door. "Who's there?" Evelyn shouted, her heart racing anew. Silence followed for a moment, and then, through the wooden planks, their next challenge approached. Was it a friend, or perhaps something more sinister? The very fabric of their unity was on the brink of exposure. What awaited them at that door? Evelyn felt the weight of her heart in the stillness that settled over the group. The air crackled with suspense as they exchanged worried glances. But she held her ground, they would not falter. "Whatever's at the door, we face it together." Another loud knock shook the barn firmly. "It's just the winds," a voice quivered. "We can't let fear control us." "Exactly," Evelyn rallied, her own pulse steadying. "Fear's just like this storm, it may roar, but we can rise above it. Together." Lily's small hand tightened around her grandmother's as the lantern light flickered ominously. "We're with you, Grandma." The girl's voice, small but impactful, echoed through the shadows. With a nod from Lily that said, "I believe in you," Evelyn moved toward the barn door, feeling the tremors of uncertainty echoing around her, the crowd's anticipation palpable. "Let us see what's out there." She swung the heavy door open. The gust of wind rushed into the barn like an uninvited guest, forcing the group to step back. And there, silhouetted against the stormy backdrop, stood not a foe but a friend. Mr. Thompson, the retired war veteran, clung to the doorframe, drenched but imbued with purpose. I'm here to help. He yelled above the roaring winds, his voice resilient amidst the chaos. I couldn't bear to think you were out here alone. Relief washed over Evelyn, and a spark ignited through the room. Mr. Thompson's presence was a balm, reminding them that support was never too far away. Join us. She called, her own fears tumbling behind her. There was strength in numbers. As he stepped inside, the crowd erupted into cheers, the weight on their hearts lifting. It wasn't just the physical manifestation of help, but a manifestation of camaraderie. They would not battle the storm alone. The barn will hold, Mr. Thompson assured everyone. It's weathered storms before, just like us. Others filtered in behind him, a young couple, a neighbor with an armful of supplies. We saw how many were gathered, they said, smiles breaking through the gloom. We wanted to make sure you were okay. This is it. This is our moment, Evelyn shouted, her heart soaring at the sight of connection blossoming around them. Together, we're stronger than anything this storm can throw at us. In a time that felt vulnerable, they bound their energies into a song, a melody of affirmation that filled the barn and leaped into the winds outside. They sang about hope, resilience, and unity, their voices curling together like weeds entwining a rose. The storm raged on, but inside that barn, the heartbeats of community thrummed strong. Evelyn felt the warmth spread as connections were forged, as burdens were shared. Each song was a seed planted, reaching toward the light they believed was still waiting beyond those dark clouds. And then came another knock, more liberating, a steady rhythm that hinted at something more profound. One more chance to stand together. Mr. Thompson bellowed. Curiosity lit the room. What if we open that door again? He proposed, his eyes glistening. What if we invite the storm in? Evelyn's heart raced. To face it head on? Yes. Let it remind us that storms cause growth. We rise stronger after each one. Lily's eyes sparkled. Can we, Grandma? Can we open it again? Evelyn looked at her granddaughter and realized she had already taught her the lesson of fighting back against compromise. She could show her it was okay to embrace uncertainty. Yes, she declared, fixing her gaze on the door. Let us welcome it. With a collective shout, they all stood together, arms linked and hearts ablaze. On 3. Evelyn called out, leading them into a shared breath of courage. 1, 2, 3. They bellowed, swinging the doors wide open again. The storm hit like a wave. Rain soaked them through to the bone, blustering winds whipping their hair, mixing laughter with fear like the harmonious chaos of a dance. And out there, they discovered a different reality. The storm's fury transformed into adrenaline, a powerful reminder of their own strength. Evelyn lifted her face to the rain, feeling the droplets against her skin. See? We're alive. We're blooming amid the chaos. Together, they danced on the ground outside, stepping onto the sodden soil as if it were sacred ground. The laughter spilled over, transforming fear into unyielding joy. They twirled and leapt, letting the storm catch them off guard. It was an exaltation of life, of embracing the storm that had once felt insurmountable. As they moved, she knew there would still be challenges ahead. Every season comes and goes, but we will remain, she whispered to herself, reveling in the warmth of community that had embraced the ensuing chaos. And there, amid the wild storm, Evelyn felt alive, a gardener forging connections stronger than roots wrapped in the earth. Together, with every raucous laugh and every heartfelt song sung against the backdrop of the thunder, they affirmed their promise to grow. In that moment, the storm was nothing more than a gateway to all they could become, a kaleidoscope of colors and flowers that would forever bloom in the wake of uncertainty and thrive amid the conditions most fear. As the night tapered off, they found themselves enveloped in the embrace of the community they had built, their hearts intertwined with the past, present, and future, a tapestry of hope, blooming vibrantly under the now clear sky. Evelyn knew they would never face the storms alone again. And that, in itself, was the truest blossom of all. Now, embrace your own journey along with Evelyn. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our adventures together. Comment your reactions and feelings about this provoking transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love.